Today on the Star Trek Universe podcast, we are talking about the new Star Trek short trek, Ephraim and Dot. Right after this.
Welcome to the Star Trek Universe podcast. My name is Matthew Carroll.
I am David C. Robertson.
All right, man. Let's talk about Ephraim and Dot. New fucking animated fucking bullshit.
Well, I wonder how you feel about it.
You want me to be honest about how I feel? Sorry, I won't hold back anymore.
It's
fine. It's fine. This is the least Star Trek thing I've ever seen, and I'd mean that in every level.
No, that's...
Of all the things called Star Trek, this is the least Star Trek.
I don't think that's true.
Oh, man.
For me.
All right. We can have a discussion about what you think is less Star Trek than this. But, man, it is... Like, I get what they're trying to do, and they could have done it well. I don't even really mind what it is. Like, if it even fit into the fucking universe. But, like... Okay, I'm going to be super nerdy right now, but this is what we do here, and I'm fucking annoyed that he lays his eggs in the NCC 1701, and then they rescue his eggs from the 1701A, which are different ships.
Right. Well, they screwed the pooch on that one, honestly, because they... Technically speaking, as presented in the narrative, it is not a different ship. It is the refit ship, but they called it the A. Because the A didn't come along until after the 1701 refit got blowed up in Star Trek 3, which is what was depicted at the end of this short.
Right.
So they just screwed up and called it the A. And you would think, we were talking a little bit before the show, you would think we would be the wrong people.
Yeah, no, it made me feel crazy. But before we went live, I had to ask you, I'm not wrong about this, right? Like, the 1701 was from the original series to Star Trek 3, and then 1701A was after that.
Right, you're absolutely correct.
I was like, surely I'm the wrong one here. Surely it's me. That's
not
really
the official thing.
Official freaking CBS thing is not wrong. And also, what's the timetable here? Because obviously it felt like it was happening in an immediate time frame, but because this thing can supposedly, we know the tardigrades can travel around space like crazy. Like, why can't it catch the Enterprise? For years, apparently.
Yeah, I think I did read in the trivia on Memory Alpha, and I was a little confused by it, and I was reading and I was like, that might make sense. It says, when Ephraim first encounters the Enterprise, she looks into a sickbay window and witnesses a conversation between Kirk, Khan, and McCoy. From Space Seed. She lays her eggs in the Enterprise's warp core. Then she encounters Tribbles from Trouble with Tribbles. And then she's in the corridor and she hears Hikaru Sulu, and he's doing the naked now thing with the rapier. And then as she's chasing around, we got the green hand of Apollo from, Who Mourns for Adonis. So we got the Doomsday Machine, the Tholian Web, all sorts of things. And then it ends up with Star Trek 2 and then Star Trek 3. And spanning decades here.
Yep.
And there was an idea here that it was exactly what you said, that the tardigrade can kind of
jump through time and space.
Well, yeah, jump through time and space and experience time differently.
Yeah, I get that, and that wouldn't have bothered me. It would have been okay with me, but then they tried to make it seem like a chase sequence, like he was in a rush to get back to the ship. But if he just can go to different times and spaces, he could have just gone. I don't know. It just didn't make it. It was all style, no substance whatsoever, and does not line up with the timeline after they fucking put an A on the Enterprise before it blew up. Like, what the fuck?
If you're going to get caught up, though, on the aesthetic of showing 1701A on the wrong ship at the wrong time, let me just jump into my big issue, which is that the frickin' 1701 looks like the Discovery Enterprise on the outside, but in the inside, it totally looks like the original series. And when she gets back to the 1701A, quote unquote, the engine room looks exactly the same as it did on the original series, and it totally did not in those movies. Like, they had like the full like warp core tower. It wasn't like the multiple little warp cores that they had.
Yeah.
Like, it looks completely different in the movies.
Yeah.
So
it's like, it's like they're just trying to have their cake and eat it too. And the truth is, this just is not canon. Like, they can't be.
No.
And as much as I fight for things to be canon, I guess we just have to assume that these animated things are not going to be canon. And if all they are is child bait, basically, like they're just baiting children into liking Star Trek, that's fine, but I think it's kind of infantilizing to do that, because kids can just like Star Trek. The kinds of kids who like Star Trek are going to like Star Trek, you know?
Well, this one was particularly weird to me because it was like, calling back to the original series, it was like they were actually trying to get us interested. And
exactly.
Older people interested, but
exactly.
the subject matter was kind of for kids.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it's a fun for kids thing. Like, and also, this robot, it appears to have feelings and emotions.
Yeah.
Which is something that like is kind of unique to Data, and not even Data in the 24th century has them. Like, it's way later when he finally gets these emotions. Like, I just don't understand.
Well, I think they were going for like a Wall-E type of thing.
Oh, they were definitely going for a Wall-E type of thing.
They were definitely going for like a Pixar thing, especially with, hey, let's get Michael Giacchino, the guy that scored like almost all the Pixar movies, to come in and direct this thing.
So basically, I have almost nothing to say except it's like a fun little thing for kids. That's what it is. And if I recontextualize it as that, that's fine. But like, I don't see what game they're playing here. Are they trying to make a kids show for kids and then lure them slowly into the Star Trek universe until they maybe like the other stuff? Which I've said over and over, we're not doing enough to bring kids in. So
yeah.
Like, I'm not opposed to some sort of game plan, but like, why have blatant like continuity errors and call it Star Trek? It just pisses me off.
Because these people aren't paying attention.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
I've been covering Watchmen over on Who Watched the Watchmen, and I think it is one of the best shows I've ever seen. They're paying so much attention to every detail, and so when I'm seeing this stuff, it just pisses me off when people are given these budgets to do these like really amazing animations, and then you just don't pay attention to the writing of the thing.
Yeah,
and it's not like it showed the Enterprise 1701 and then jumped and showed the Enterprise 1701A. Like, not only is it a different, like, it doesn't make sense in the storyline of the thing you're telling, because it's a different ship. So if you wanted to, like, for whatever reason you wanted to jump forward to where they did, that's fine. It's still the same Enterprise. Maybe those eggs are still there, which doesn't make a lot of sense. Like, no one cleaned the Enterprise for that many years.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make sense.
Unless the eggs are, fluctuating on the same nonlinear frequency, or I guess it was linear, just...
Yeah, like maybe they're pulling that old Geordie,
no,
where they're out of phase or something.
No, it wasn't linear. Those episodes were out of order.
Oh, really? These episodes were out of order? Okay.
Absolutely.
See, I don't know enough about the original series.
It encounters the Trouble with Tribbles episode before the naked time. Naked time happens way before.
Okay, and tell me what's up with the Abraham Lincoln. I've seen that before.
It's the Savage Curtain.
Okay.
It's an episode. It's not... It's like... I can't remember exactly what happened. It was like some alien species had like Kirk. Kirk really admired Abraham Lincoln. So that we have Abraham Lincoln appear in space, and then they're on the planet, and he's like teamed up with Surak and Abraham Lincoln and God, who else? I don't remember who else, but they're fighting like Genghis Khan and Kalis. It was a thing.
Okay.
It's been it is one of my least favorite episodes. I never watch it, and I have not watched it in several years, like probably 15 years.
All right,
if not more.
Well, I don't want to spend too much crazy amount of time talking about this episode or this short trek because it's it's fine. It's for kids. If you have kids and you want to introduce them to Star Trek in a like really non-Star Trek-y way, just to lure them in slowly, like sure. This makes me scared for the animated Treks to come, like this Lower Deck series and stuff. I don't think that's what this is going to be like.
I am not scared, because at any given time I can say it's just not real.
Well, yeah. Well, no. This is not canon at all. Like this just isn't canon.
Yeah, and what drives me nuts is like I understand their desire to just plow into something and kind of do their take on it and have like creative license, but they are going out of their way to reference several things within canon.
Exactly.
And, and it's the problem I've had with the aesthetic of Discovery the whole time is that, you say it's Prime, you say it's canon, but you're not showing us that. Like aesthetically. And I know that doesn't bother you, except it does now because they literally just said it was the wrong ship.
Well, that's not even aesthetic though. That's a word on a thing saying what it is. It's one thing if they change the look of something. It's another thing if it's just a different ship.
Well, I mean, I would say the same thing though, just looking at the bridge on the Enterprise on Discovery. I'm like, that is a different ship.
Yeah.
Like,
but
that is not the ship.
If you're in the same canon, you can rebuild something the way it looks, but we just don't have any information to say they at one point called the 1701 the 1701A for a while. It just doesn't.
No, that didn't happen.
That didn't happen. So like it's like this is unhead canonable is my problem. I am on Team Star Trek. I am all for this shit. So like if there's someone from Star Trek who listens to this podcast and goes to check in with what the fans think, and they're listening to us and they're like, oh, these are just stodgy guys not wanting us to try new things. That's not what we are. I am on board with so much, and I'm even not that upset about all the aesthetic changes in Discovery. The aesthetic changes don't bother me.
I accept it.
Yeah, you're annoyed by it, but you even accept it. Like this just doesn't even make sense. Like this little story you told cannot happen in. Like literally the wrong ship exploded,
Yeah.
Like, gosh, come on. And like, why? You had already rendered it with the 1701. Why did you re-render it with the 1701A? Who made that decision?
It doesn't even explode right. Like the way the original Enterprise exploded was so friggin' iconic, and they just botched it. Like,
yeah.
Anyway, somebody needs to be looking at this short going, my God, Bones, what have I done?
Yeah, you could have easily just... You added an A. It's not like you forgot to erase... I don't know. It just... I'm sounding like I'm a like fan trying to whatever. Like I sound like a stodgy fan, and I know I do, and I'm not. I just care like a little bit, and I feel like the people making this stuff don't care at all. That's what pisses me off. They don't care. They're trying to monetize my fandom. Like no kid cares about Kirk talking to Khan. They're just trying to monetize my fandom. You know what I mean? By putting that in there, and then they are not at all caring about like the stuff that anyone that cares about this stuff the way I do care about.
Yeah. I would argue that anyone who cared about Khan being in sickbay, talking to Kirk for a minute, most anyone is going to go, I prefer the original series Enterprise. I prefer the way that looked instead of the Discovery exterior. I care whether or not it says 1701A instead of 1701.
Yeah.
When clearly that is the ship that they're talking. I think is sloppiness.
Yeah.
And I think is one of the problems that a lot of Discovery naysayers and to be fair, CBS All Access naysayers bring up is just the abject sloppiness of the writers here for these guys. Like, I don't understand. I can canon away a lot of stuff, and people like put out these videos that say, here's the difference between Discovery and Next Generation. And then they like show you a clip of, a morally questionable character suggesting some bullshit, some shady shit.
Right. But they're a morally questionable character. That's not what we're doing.
And then they show, Picard giving the righteous speech. And I'm like, no, he's giving the righteous speech against the morally objectionable character. Those characters have always been in Star Trek. Always.
Yeah, as they should be.
There's always been the Commodore who wants Kirk to go and get him to his appointment instead of save lives.
Yeah,
there's always that
Picard
guy.
has even been that character. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We just got done with our rewatch of that episode about Hugh, where he wants to use Hugh to genocide the Borg, and he has to be convinced by the other characters that's the wrong thing to do. Now we can debate whether it's the wrong thing to do, and that's why it's a great episode. But other people have to talk to him about the ideals of the Federation. Like, our captains shouldn't be perfect, and they never have been. Mm-hmm. All right, that's all. We got to move on because we got other shit to record about today, including another short trek. Guess how we feel, everybody?
We haven't talked about it, so I don't know.
I'm presuming.
I'm going to assume that you don't like it.
I don't know. Who knows? I guess we'll find out tomorrow.
Yeah.
Peace.
Live long and prosper.
To reach out to us, hit us up at StarTrekUcast.com, at Star Trek Ucast on Twitter, or search for the Star Trek Universe Podcast on Instagram or Facebook. And if you want to hear more from David C. Robertson, search for the DC On Screen podcast in your podcast app now, or go to maladjusted.tv for his comedy sketches. If you want to hear more from me, Matthew Carroll, search for the Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast or the Orville Universe podcast in your podcast app, or check out my music. Just search for Matthew Carroll wherever you listen to music.